associated to cattle. Why cattle, not any other thing that you've decided to choose? Not crops, not, but real cattle, and then making sure that you bring back the dip. If the rest I'll ask later. I don't want to talk about the 80. I just want to start from the very background. Why the dip and why cattle?
Okay. If you notice the climate here, though we're next to water, the place is extremely dry and quite hot, which is where animals thrive. If you notice, most of the parks are quite dry, but so long as there's water, it's an area which animals do very well. So historically, animals have done well here. My ancestors came here because of game. There was a lot of game meat here. The only dilemma was there's also setsi. So you find communities are near the water. Inside is a bit tricky because of the setsi, but they will go there to hunt, and we've survived both on fish and cattle within this area. Even the Maruzi Ranch, it was consensus with the communities that, and the British, when they discussed with our forefathers, was they remove the animal, get rid of the setsi, bring cattle, and then obviously the community believe that they'll benefit from having access to the meat of the cattle. So this area has been a cattle area throughout, historically. Crops suffer because of the dry season. There's a lot of prolonged drought. So animals is the key element. I myself was doing animals. I started doing animals in the 80s. I was gifted my first animal in the campaign of 1980. My grandmother added 2, then I got some more. So I started well in the 80s, keeping animals. So this is a rewind for me. And that's why the issue of the cattle dips. Now, cattle dips have been a cost-effective method of where many smallholders can benefit from the use of one dip. If you have few animals, it does not make sense to own a dip. The cost is not going to be there. But if you have a sizable amount of animals, you can own a dip. On our own, our farm, which was there in the 80s, had enough to sustain for warranting a dip, and that's one of the reasons why the dip was built. But
where enough means how many?
We're in the region of about 900. By the time we lost, we had about 900, 600 of which were exotic beef animals. We were not so much into dairy, but in future I wanted to do a bit of dairy. So with the 600, yes, it's cost effective, or 900 is cost effective. But what the reality was, to be able to keep your animals well, your neighbor must also be keeping the animals well. A tick infestation with your neighbor can cross over to you. Any infestation in your neighborhood can cross over. So what we did was allow complete access to the dip, because at this moment we don't have a water source up at the dip. So most of the animals, even if they're grazing up there, they come down to the lake to drink water, and they'll interact with other animals, hence the importance of everybody controlling. Secondly, if you control the tick population around here, then you can bring in more exotic animals which are more sensitive to some of these diseases. And hence you can get better production, better beef, better milk yields, but you must first control the tick infestation. So the cattle dip was an important asset. I have embarked on restoring it because it's a foundational ingredient for having a healthy cattle population. So, and these dips were built to last. The one you witnessed today was built in the early 80s. The one I worked on in Nomoro was built in the early 70s. Both the integrity is intact and able to function. So they'll be able to help in the area, and the restocking as it comes, they'll find a well-organized community.
Okay. Now, with your project to restore all these dips, the cattle dips, in terms of ownership, are you finding it easy to just go and talk to the community and the local leaders and have the dips restored, or there are wrangles, guys who are taken over? You know, the land issues in Uganda. Is that something that you're finding it easy, or there are issues in terms of the ownership of those places? Apart from this one of yours, the one we already surveyed in different areas.
Most of them have received a positive response. There's one which is currently in a market now. Today, the place where it is in a market. So the recommendation, when we looked at it, we've done the assessment, we're ready to work on it. But the recommendation is that we should put up some fencing to separate the dip when we've charged it with chemicals from the rest of the market, which is understandable. So that is a new cost, but we're working on that one, and that one will be restored in the near future. Some of them, it is to get them to work and then you improve upon it. Like many of them, the roofing has been removed. Roofing itself does not stop the dip from functioning. You can put a temporary shelter and then we improve upon it as we move ahead. In Omoro, the entrance, we need to slab the entrance. It's workable, but we need to slab the entrance. We're going to be doing it over time. So different dips, most of them which are accessible, we've not had problems. It's a question of agreeing on certain parameters, and then we work on them so that they can function.
Okay, so you talked about the importance of having your animals dipped versus the community animals that are not dipped, that can easily ferry the ticks back to your own herds. For the service, something small, or it's a free service? I want you to begin with this one over Kokoro.
At the moment, we have done 2 dippings without any fees.
Okay.
What we intend to do is to break it down and get like a user fee, the basic cost per animal, and then we work backwards so that it is going to be replicable and maintainable. And so to avoid each individual farmer having to have the chemical around, because like the chemical is sold in a liter. That liter you're going to mix with about, I think, is it 300 or 500 liters. So you're normally measuring into your 20-liter spray thing, so you have to put a small amount. Now you have to keep the other chemical there. Most of those chemicals are carcinogenic, and we rarely have places where somebody can store the chemicals separate from the living quarters. So you don't want the chemicals in somebody's house.
Okay.
By taking it to the dip, you've now put it in a concentrated place. We have a soak pit where we remove the thing. So you're trying to contain the chemicals to make it safer in the community. Mixtures, mixing a small quantity is more likely to make mistakes than mixing it in a larger quantity. So all of these are supposed to mitigate on those various hazards and to make it easier. But there's a cost. There's nothing for nothing, and we have to find ways of how to manage the cost. The way through the dip is a shared cost, so that we can work it out in a way that the dips become self-sustaining and work towards a sustainable future towards the animals and building a much stronger base whereby we can grow the herds and make them better.
Now, as we were growing up, there were specific interventions that were meant for the government. For example, doing roads. Guys are just fresh from politics. Sometimes if you're a politician and you try to do something, they'll tell you that is a government thing. You need to seek permission. I don't know whether you have come across those challenges in this particular enterprise that you have gone into, or no one has come to ask you that question as yet.
So far, I have had positive response from some government officials who are in that area. They've seen the need, they've seen that they appreciate stepping up to do so.
Okay.
You must take dipping like a bath.
Like a bath.
It is required that you bathe regularly.
True.
Dipping is not done every day, but depending on the season, you can do it every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, depending on the load which you're going through. But it's like bathing. If the bathing area is not okay, and I was not bathing, it becomes difficult. But when you've organized a proper bathing area, which is like the dip, the animals can be dipped regularly. And so long as you schedule it, that dip can cater for thousands of animals. You can be working every day, different animals coming. We can agree like on this day, this parish, they come through and we work out a mechanism. So it is scheduling the use of the dip, but each individual dip can cater for thousands. So the dip in itself is cost effective. It has very little moving parts. There's technology today which is a spray race. More convenient, easier to set up, good for like animals like dairy animals and pregnant animals. But because of the moving parts, it's difficult to maintain. And in my own setup, I felt it important that I want the young people to know that original, but it's very cost effective because also it doesn't have moving parts. For a spray race, you need to have a pump which is working. There have to be nozzles which are going to do the fine spray. You have to be able to have the collection, filtration to pass it through again. So it's effective, but not easy to deploy. And in remote areas, you run into problems. The pump may stop working, you may run a problem with the generator, all sorts of things. This setup, it is a static thing. It will be able to work constantly and you can replenish, sort it out from before. As you saw today, this is a second dipping using the same chemical, same issue. And today we have dipped far more than we dipped the first time.
This has been a long-running question in this area, and then I think in Acholi land, the question of the migrating herdsmen, the Balalo to be specific. So I don't know, in your own way, how are you managing the Balalos versus the local cattle owners in this area? Do they coexist? What challenges have you faced?
They coexist, and there are two groups, which you can say of Balalo who you'll find in the hills. There's a group who are taking care of local animals, i.e. the herdsmen employed by the locals. So you find them taking care of the animals, they move them around, they water them, they make sure the animals are healthy. Then there's a group who are taking care of animals which we don't know the owners of. Now that is where you get a different level of tension, but both are coexisting. In my issue of the work on the dip, I have put it word across that access to the dip is open to everyone. Everyone who is within this area should use the dip. Look at the bigger picture, the longer term issue. I don't want ticks with the infections around to use the dip. The sorting out of who should be here or which animals should be here, I leave that one as a government issue. And based on the President's directive, there are those whose animals we don't know. Those ones should not be around. But if somebody is employed to take care of, for example, if I employ a Mulalo to take care of my animals, he will be rightly here doing his trade. So that's what I'm saying. We have two groups. We have two groups who exist there.
Okay. So maybe the last one from me, and I hand you over to my colleagues as well. Akena is not going to Parliament in the next term, and this is not a cheap project, yeah, to involve yourself in terms of funding. Are you getting support from somewhere? How big is your pocket to just make sure that you run through this project without any setback? Because I know it takes a lot of money. I've seen your crush is metallic. It's not wooden like I saw with my grandparents. Yours is a bit different, and you are now going to roof the ones that were disorganized long time ago, whether during war or whatever period. So any support, special support you're getting, and then coupled with that, is there a specific local government support that you're getting as you get onto this journey?
No, there's no direct support. This one is something which I decided to do together with my children. So we're going to work on it, but we're doing a study issue because I expect the animal traffic to be high, which we had before.
Yeah.
So the wooden one, it will not last as long as the galvanized steel which I'm using. So I'm expecting numbers to increase. I expect to increase my own herd. I'll spend more time investing and improving on my herd. The fact that I've got the area organized, that's what I'm working towards developing. I did prepare to do some dips. I do have friends who have committed to support. I have some Christians in America from the Bible Belt who are interested in this project. I need to show them the results, the dipping culture, and they also are trying to raise some funds. And I'm also going to be looking within our community. I mean, if people appreciate and they see that it's worthwhile, they can also come and invest, now put in something. So far, when I've been looking for materials, I've received a lot of support. I've received support from some of it in kind. For one dip, I received the dipping chemical in kind, right? So I did not have to put resources towards the dipping chemical. So any support which I can get in kind, if somebody can give an iron sheet, a metal pole, and whatever, I'll take it. Because this is not something which is for myself alone. It's for the community. And what I've been arguing is that cattle is so much more than that asset which we lost. Cattle was combined banking system, insurance, everything weaved together into one thing. Life revolved around cattle. How people lived, how people got married, how people did, there's a lot around it. So that restoring it restores a lot of issues. Somebody with animals is not going to cry that I have failed to pay school fees. You know, you can find a formula there and somebody will go to school. You know, somebody will be able to get that skill which will be able to sustain them. So to sustain all of us, we need to look at where we can recover our livelihoods. And for me, cattle is a key element. And I'm coming from a place like Akokoro where the weather is brutal. For agriculture, weather is brutal. We have relied more on the fish and the animals. So we need to strengthen those sides of issues. Of course, I have issues around the fish, how things have been handled, but right now we're talking about the issue of the cattle. That one needs to be strengthened.
Okay, so do you have a concrete project document that you can confidently work with to the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, or the Prime Minister's office, or the President's office, and you say, this is what I want for my people, I need funding for it?